Okay, we just have more word problems. Word problems are just one of those things that you just have to practice, and it just takes a while. All right, we've got two cars starting at the same point, but they're traveling in opposite directions. So it's like you got car one, car two. One goes this way, one goes that way. They're starting at the same point, and they go opposite directions. Okay, now, the first car travels 25 miles per hour faster than the second car. Whenever they're telling you information, and you're trying to figure out where the variable goes, the variable goes with whatever it is that you know nothing about. So they've got one car and the second car. They give you information on the first car using the second car, but they don't tell you anything about the speed of the second car. So the second car has a speed of r. The first car is 25 miles per hour faster, so that's the one that's r plus 25 for the first car. In 5 hours, the cars are 500 miles apart. Now, they're giving us this information. 5 hours is time, and distance is equal to rate times time. Now, this problem has done the equation for us, but I'm just showing you where it's coming from. So time and then the rate of the first car, r plus 25, gives me the distance for the first car. And then time, which is 5 hours, times the rate of the second car, gives me the distance for the second car. The two together are 500 miles apart. So this distance plus this distance is 500. Now, what we do is we set about solving the equation. We combine like terms. 5r plus 5r is 10r plus 125 equals 500. Now you subtract 125 from both sides and you get 10r equals 375. Then you divide by 10 and that gives you 37.5 miles per hour for the second car, which was the question. If they asked you to find the first car, you would add 25 to that, and then you would have the rate of the first car. A ferry boat carries passengers back and forth between two communities on the Mississippi River. It takes 30 minutes longer for the ferry to make the trip upstream than it does downstream. That's because upstream is fighting against the current. The ferry's average speed in still water is 30 miles per hour. They tell you what it is if you're not doing anything and it's just sitting there and it's just moving along and there's no current. The river's current is usually 5 miles per hour. So they tell you how much it is per hour. Now, this equation can be used to determine how many miles apart the two communities are. Now, this is distance over rate, and this is distance over rate. And so we're doing that for time. So distance over rate equals time. Since distance equals rate times time, you can divide by r and get that. Now, it's wanting to know what the distance is between the two communities. This is distance right here. So we set it up as distance for going upstream. So 30 minus 5. If it's 30 miles per hour that the ferry can do in still water and the current is 5 miles per hour, you're going to have to subtract the current to get the speed of the ferry boat going up. That's going to be equal to the speed of the ferry boat coming down, and so instead of subtracting 5, we'll be adding 5. And we're adding a half hour over here for the time because it takes, for them to be equal, it's another half hour longer over here. So in order for them to be equal to each other, we have to add that half hour on this side. Okay. What is M, the distance between the two communities? Now what we do is we take this equation and we take 30 minus 5 and we make it 25, and 30 plus 5 and we make it 35. Now, to clear an equation of its fraction. And I have another video on fractional equations if you need to look back at that aren't word problems. So if you need to look back at that video on Google Classroom, be sure to go back and look at it. But the common denominator between 25 and 35 is 175. And I took 35 and I multiplied it by 3, and then by 4, and then by 5, looking for a number that 25 went into evenly. And I finally found it when I multiplied 35 by 5. So 175 is our common denominator. So 175, you want to multiply that by each part of the equation, which I've done here. And then 25 goes into 175 7 times. What that does is that clears the equation of the fraction. So 7 times m is 7m. 35 into 175 is 5. That gives me 5m. 175 times 0.05 or times 0.5 is 87.5. Now I'm going to move my 5m over to the left side. That's going to give me 2m equals 87.5. And then you divide it by 2, and that gives us 43.75 miles apart. Or, what did it ask? What is the distance? Yes, between the two communities. So they are 43.75 miles apart. How long will it take Sam and Sarah to mow their lawn given the following equation? Now, I got all these equations from the Georgia State Study Guide. And so I'm just putting up examples for you so that you know what to do. And they gave the equation. This is a work thing. It takes one of them 5 hours to mow the lawn and the other one 8 hours. And so you take both of them and you put them together, and that gets the whole lawn done. That's how this kind of equation is done. Again, multiply by the common denominator, which is 40. That's going to give me 8h plus 5h, and then 40 times 1 gives me 40. I put that together, that gives me 13h, and 40 divided by 13 gives me 3.07923. You could say that's 3.1 hours, but approximately 3 hours. So, thank you.